I met with a new client this week and she came in with a concern that I hear all the time. We've never discussed on the podcast. She said, I see all my colleagues and coworkers around me. They're burnout, they're miserable. I'm afraid it's going to happen to me. If that's ever crossed your mind, this episode is for you. I'm going to walk you through the same process I shared with her. The same process that worked for me works for all my clients because burnout actually never has to happen to you. Never, ever, ever. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with your colleagues or your job or you, but it does mean you are going to need some guide rails, some practical daily strategies to make sure burnout isn't contagious at your workplace. By the way, it isn't. Ready? Strategy one, the fixer trap, what not to do. So here's what doesn't work ever, 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 but your mind will want to do it. Don't spend more time with a burnout colleague trying to fix them, trying to talk them through it, trying to get them to be more positive, trying to change their attitude, trying to listen until they get to the end of the negative thinking. When someone is really burnt out, I know this, there is no end to the negative thinking. This is really for more of a trained professional, like a coach who specializes in burnout or a therapist or psychiatrist. Don't take their work hoping it'll lift their mood. The work isn't the issue. The burnout is the issue. By the way, how I know this doesn't work is I've tried both early in my career and I noticed it only made everything worse. When someone is deeply negative or burnout, listening to the endless negative stories actually doesn't help them. Research shows us this. It actually makes them worse. They're already depleted. They're going to have negative stories, negative experiences. They're going to be even more depleted and spiral out. It doesn't solve their pain, it causes more pain. It's not venting, it's deepening the burnout they're in. So avoid spending more time trying to talk them through it unless you're a trained therapist, psychiatrist, or coach. It's just they need a professional here who specializes this. Okay, that doesn't work. What else doesn't work? Taking the workload. That will backfire too. And here's how. It's not the workload that's causing the burnout. Think of the hospital. Everyone in the department has a similar-ish workload. Not everyone is burnt out. It is not the workload. It's this underlying exhaustion, hopelessness, disconnection that's happening that can only really be helped by a trained professional. When you take their work, you haven't solved the problem. You've actually made the problem worse. And here's how. Now you're overextended. You're going to be at work more. You're carrying a heavier load. You see your family less. You're resting less. You're kind of resenting your colleague now. Your colleague has now learned that you're going to take some of their work for them. You are now sliding into burnout. That's how burnout can be contagious, is if we try to solve for it through sacrificing our own mental health. It makes the dynamic, the relationship unstable, and now you both are burnout. That solves nothing. So here's the real solution. It's to honor that they're on their own journey. And maybe they're burned out, maybe they're depressed, maybe they're really struggling. We, of course, as humans, hate that for them. And we also know it's not our place to solve it. I think even if you are a coach, because a lot of physician coaches are actively in medicine, unless you're paying client and they've signed an agreement and you feel like you can coach them from a neutral place, even if you have a background, working with a colleague, I think is like coaching your mom. Not a great idea. Have them be helped by someone who's trained and who can really have a very neutral space. Honor the journey that they're on. Not everyone's journey, not even ours, is happy all the time. Like we have ups and downs. It doesn't feel good when we're having a down moment and someone is pulling us to be positive. It feels that's the whole concept of toxic positivity. Nobody loves it. It doesn't work. The solution isn't to spend more time with them or to take their word. The solution is to honor their journey. If it feels right, of course, you can suggest a therapist or coach, a book, a podcast that's helped you, but then step back. Your job has to be to protect your mental space. Lead by example. Leave work when your work is done. Leave early. Use your PTO. Take vacation. Come into work fresh, energized, exciting to be there. Cultivate joy for you. And let that be a lighthouse for everyone around you. That joy, that is contagious. That is worth spreading. This is how you can prevent yourself from going through burnout. Strategy two, burnout isn't an accident. So burnout doesn't just, how the client presented is, I don't want burnout to happen to me. Sort of like Tuesday's just on the calendar, it's going to happen to me. Not at all. Burnout is a series of conscious and unconscious choices that happen over generally a chronic period of time, 6 months, a year or more. At the height of my own burnout, I believe my value came from my RVUs, the turnaround time papers, whether my boss liked me. If I got in a fight with a colleague, like we had a disagreement or things went wrong, I meant I'm not doing something right, work harder, push harder. That's what caused my burnout. Not the work itself, but just defining success in a way that sacrificed everything important to me. So part of me walking out of burnout was redefining success on my own terms, hiring a coach and a therapist. The burnout disappeared when I had a support team, and my definition of success matched what was valuable to me, which is I want to do amazing clinical work. I want to have so much fun at work. I want to go home in the evenings and be with my family and have hours to unwind. I want to exercise twice a week. I want to read a book for pleasure. I want to go to the movie theater every once in a while. I want to travel outside of work trips. I want to use all my PTO. You can 100% control your experience. You can, in fact, guarantee you'll never be burned out when you see you 100% control your decisions. That sometimes is hard for people who don't have a coach. So if that sentence is sticky for you, like I can't control my decisions, come into my world. We will show you how to. When you can control your decisions, you control your experience on the planet. It is that simple and it is life changing. Do this every day for my clients. Okay, strategy 3, use burnout as data, not destiny. So consider everything around you. So what I told the client is just data points. It's just teaching you that you either want this kind of particular life or you don't want this kind of particular life. It doesn't mean because your colleagues are miserable and suffering that you will be miserable and suffering. You can actually have an amazing time at your job. They can have their own human experience if you're looking at everything as data. You don't have to make the other person wrong or bad that they're suffering. They're not someone to be rescued, right? You can just honor their experience. So when you see a colleague who's burnt out and miserable, it's just a billboard sign. Burn out ahead, choose a different road. See what is it that you can assess is causing their burnout, and that's a note for you not to do that thing. So we did that with my client. She noticed that all her colleagues were staying to 8 or 9 p.m. They were coming in on the weekends, even though their cases were done. They were just kind of commiserating and checking their emails and just very slowly doing things when they didn't have to work those hours. So she decided we created her own burnout prevention plan, was leaving work when her work was done. And turns out that's 4 p.m. every day, doesn't need to come in on the weekends. When you're feeling really good and focused, you get better quality work done faster. You go home, you have so much more time with your family to rest, to recharge. You come back, you have even more energy, do better quality work for us faster. And before you know it, you're at part-time hours at your full-time job. And I help trainees, residents, and fellows do this too. Strategy 4, limit exposure to burnout energy. So while burnout is not contagious, it definitely is not like COVID or cold. It can still drag you down. And you've probably felt this too, where you spent some time with someone who was negative and you left feeling worse, not better. You might have gone there to vent, in quotes, but you wound up feeling worse. You can't always avoid colleagues who are struggling, but you can structure your interactions the way that protect you, maintain relationships, and protect them. So I had a colleague, for example, who we really respected each other's eyes. Diagnostically, we were like, okay, if you go out of town, I'm in trouble, right? I don't respect anyone else's opinion. I don't trust anyone else's opinion. I really trust yours. She really trusts mine. And also, she was likely very depressed. So everything she saw, everything was deeply negative. If it was a sunny day, she was going to catch melanoma. Everything was extremely negative. She couldn't help it. Of course, I don't blame her. Of course, she couldn't help it. It was the chemistry of the depression, most likely, and it still affected me. And so, what I learned to do is build guardrails. And here's the best guardrails. Ready? I went to her office, not mine. I didn't have her to my office because she could trap me in my office. They're like the way that my office was situated is the person I couldn't leave my office unless the person who was visiting me had left. Whoever's in the office kind of blocked access for me to leave. It was just a tiny office. So I would never have her at my office because then I can't get her to leave. So I would go to her office. Now, I do want to have an asterisk here. Every once in a while, she would catch me by surprise and come to my office. And then I would still put guardrails. I would say, oh, I have a call. Let me walk you out to your office. Or I'm going to have to take this. Do you mind if we go ahead and put an end to this call today, our session today? I'm going to go ahead and take this other meeting. So there are some ways around it, but that was more uncomfortable for me. So I always prefer to go into her office where I can control access to the door. Also, two, I set a hard limit, 10 minutes max. We could definitely get what we needed done in 10 minutes. And if we stayed very focused on just showing each other cases, just talking about our cases for the day, then there was really no time to talk about how terrible the world was, which was good for me, good for her. We both got what we needed to get done functionally out of our relationship. I would remind her at the top of the call, or as I walked into the room, I would remind her, hey, listen, I only have 10 minutes and then I have another meeting. And that would really help her know that we were going to be very focused and she knew what to expect when I would leave. And then and then I set a timer. When my timer went off, I left, reinforcing and teaching that there was going to be guardrails for this for both of us. Because if I left drained and burnt out, my work got harder. I was there longer. I was more negative. None of that helped her. It made just the negativity twice as bad. Also, she didn't have as much time to repeat all of her negative stories. She had more energy and focus. It was best for her mental health too. I'll say, this is what I did. I this was before one other thing I did. I'm just going to lay it out here because it might be helpful for some of you, but I would use it with extreme caution. This was before I was a coach, remember, is at one point I was like, oh my gosh, listen, I love you so much. I cannot take all this negativity. Let's just for a week practice no negative stories because I'm really struggling with burnout right now, and hearing more negative stories is making it worse. And so I asked her, I kind of like tried to steer the conversation intentionally. It didn't work at all. I think she got a little bit offended because I mean, in depression, you can't see what's negative or positive. And so I think she was like, this is my personality. You don't like me. She didn't take it well, and it didn't affect anything because the only way she knew how to communicate through the world was through negativity. So it wasn't something I could say change your personality so I feel more comfortable. Of course not. So in coaching, we know that asking people to change for us never works. So you can say it, but be prepared. It may affect nothing. So today, if I were to give advice, I would say, of course, it's an option. I don't think it's a great one though. And I would say last resort, use it if you're willing to risk the relationship and you're willing to take on a lot of drama. I don't think it's worth it. I think instead of waiting and hoping for them to change, it's so much better to protect your energy with guardrails you can change. I teach a concept of 100% effective boundaries that work 100% of the time. And that's all based on have boundaries you can control. Telling people to talk a certain way never works. Instead, go to their office, structure the time, set an alarm for 10 minutes, leave in 10 minutes. All right, strategy five is schedule compensatory recovery time. So when you know you're going to head into a negative environment, a colleague who's in depression, a faculty meeting where they're going to talk about fellow candidates, a leader who's known for talking badly about your coworkers, you need to plan recovery time ahead of time. So what this looks like is if you're going to be in a 30-minute tense debate with the department about which fellows we should take, and you know it always is full of toxicity and horrible things said, you need to schedule some transition time after that. 30 minutes, I say, if possible, 60 minutes, like twice. Whatever was the toxic positivity, the toxic negativity, schedule twice if possible. If not, one-to-one is fine, like 30 minutes to 60 minutes of transition time afterward. Do not have a tense meeting from 4:30 to 5, and then at 5 o'clock plan on doing notes. Ain't no way that's going to work. Your body's going to feel very activated. You need some transition time to get back to grounding. Do not carry that funk with you like bad perfume for the rest of the day. So here's some things that I do to not let the tense meeting affect me like bad perfume all day. I visualize, okay, I visualize I'm in the meeting and like all that negativity is smoke, like cigarette smoke in the meeting. And when I leave, I close that door, all the smoke is there. Like I visually separate myself mentally and physically from all that. Let it stay behind in that room. That room is going to hold it all. I will go for a walk. I'll listen to a silly podcast. I'll call a friend. I'll listen to uplifting music. I'll find a way to get my energy back. Things to not do, don't I would say do not go commiserate with other people if that's going to make you feel worse at the end. So be careful for that. Don't go listen to the news or doom scroll, anything that might drag your mood down any further. You want to focus on uplifting activities. This transition time is essential. So here are your 5 journal prompts. Number 1, what definitions of success are quietly increasing your burnout risk right now? Rewrite them. Number 2, which burnout behaviors are you seeing around you, and what would the opposite burnout prevention plan look like for you this week? Number 3, which specific relationships or meetings require some compensatory healing time, and what would that look like starting this week? Number 4, what example do you want your energy schedule boundaries to set for others this week? Like they think of you as a lighthouse in the department. You're going to be cultivating your light, your brightness, your joy. What might that look like this week? What kind of boundaries may you want to put in place? What would help amplify your energy? Those were your 4 journal prompts, but they had some questions tucked in, so it might be more like 8. So here's your summary. Burnout is not contagious, but the habits, beliefs, and rescuer instincts that fuel it are. You can prevent burnout by not trying to fix others and do their work on top of yours. You fix it by redefining what success means based on the life you want to lead, based on the career that you would love. Use your environment as data. Nobody has to be right. The job is not a problem. You're not a problem. Your colleagues are not a problem. But everything is showing you data of what you want to do or what you don't want to do. Amplify your life for burnout prevention activities. If you see colleagues who are miserable and burnout, look at what they're doing and make a plan on purpose not to do those activities. Limit exposure to negativity, schedule recovery, focus on what's yours to control. This is how you build a career you love. Focus on the decisions you make. You are 100% in control of your decisions, so you can 100% prevent burnout no matter what job you're in. And I want to say this, if you are burnt out, if I'm talking to someone who's a little further in their career, I want to let you know nothing has gone wrong. I've been in burnout too several times. It's very easy, it's very human, and it's 100% solvable. You just can't do it by yourself. And why would you want to when there are trained professionals who can help you get through this quickly? So that might be a therapist and you get it through work. It can be totally free. My program, we specialize in helping women physicians recover and prevent burnout. You can get started right away. Book your free sales call today. Be my program later this week. Burnout never, ever has to happen to you again. See you next time, everybody. Bye.